Hi, so on this video, we're going to give some tips on prescribing a medication from home through NextGen Mobile. This is something you might find useful, especially if you're on call and you have a patient call in. Oftentimes, it just happens that there are patients that were at the clinic during the day, but for one reason or another, a medication wasn't called in or something wasn't approved, and you need to send it in after hours. So the app is a very efficient way to do this, and I just want to give you a few pointers. I have here pulled up a test patient, so this is my test patient test privet. And if you are used to using the schedule, then you know you can find patients ever in your schedule that day, usually in the left-hand side. But there is a way to pull down that left-hand column, pull it down, and bring up the advanced search, where you can search for any patient. There usually will be a little search result that says look further onto the server or advanced search onto the server. And so if you have a patient that wasn't seen in your clinic that day and not on your schedule, you can search for any patient in the database on the server. And so I've pulled up my test patient, and you can see that there's an encounter listed as 103120 that is locked. And in order to prescribe a new medication, we're going to have make a new encounter. So I'm going to tap on that encounter date by the lock there. It's going to bring up all the past encounters, and my test patient comes in often. He's been seen by us a lot. And up in the upper left hand column, we're going to tap create new encounter. This is going to create a brand new encounter so that we can enter a medication in. And then we're going to go, by the way, if for some reason there is just a problem of it getting called to the pharmacy, check and see if that medication is there by tapping on the medications and just see if their medication they're wanting, like Travitan, for example, see if that's just something you need to renew or edit right there. But if it's brand new medication, let's say someone has a corneal abrasion and they're calling you and you want to start some ointment or you want to start them on an eye drop, then you click new medication. Many times you'll see these tiles here are all your EHR presets that you have. And remember, you can update these and add medications, and Jennifer or someone can help you set up your favorites if you'd like to put some in. This is a lot simpler if all your favorites are set up because you don't have to do a SIG. And let me just give you an example of going through someone. So I know that if, let's say, I know that for my cataract drops, maybe a patient called in, they didn't get their cataract drops, and I want to prescribe them. Well, I know I've got my prednisolone acetate written out here, and I know the SIG is in the way that I already want it to be in my presets. So I can open up this. And you have to be careful because sometimes it seems like there's a mismatch between the SIG actually being what you saved in the EHR. So this I'm realizing is not the SIG that is actually in my EHR, so I would need to edit it. So I'm just going to click on the SIG there. I'm going to see what comes up. And it looks like there are a list of different SIGs for this from different types of SIGs that you can either build or you can free type. I'm just going to tell you, I feel like that free typing the SIG is probably the easiest. Unless you see it here under the custom, you can see there's a lot of ones there. That would be actually probably the easiest. Building a SIG is tricky. If you build a SIG, you get into this kind of confusing thing. And the problem with building a SIG that I found is that they have not included drop. So when you say install one drop, they have not put the unit of drop into this, so this makes it kind of tricky to build it. So it's a little different than using EHR. So I would say probably you don't want to you want to try to avoid doing any sort of build a SIG. So you either want to use a custom SIG, whether it's from this first data bank or just free type the SIG. That's probably very easy on call for you to do, is just type it as well. But either way, you'll want to choose one of those. So let's just choose. We're going to say 4 times a day in the left eye for this particular one, and it may ask if you want to customize it, and you can. Or maybe what I should have even done is said none. So maybe do a custom sig. I'm not even gonna. I'm just gonna choose exactly what I want then. So let's do 4 times a day into the affected eyes, or you can say the right eye. Maybe 4 times a day right eye. I don't want to customize that. I just want to use it just like that. I don't want to do any customization to it. And then I can see if there's anything else I need to change. So I've got the SIG there the way I want it, but now you're sort of back to the overall drop page. So you always have quantity you'll need to enter. So I want to do 1 bottle, and then sort of close to the middle of the screen is where you put the unit. That's a little confusing, but that's and you can put a duration there into. I don't think it requires a duration, but you can certainly put one in there if you need to. And then there are other things you can include down there, whether it's PRN, and then you can save. So now that you've saved this medication, Now you'll need to send it to the pharmacy, and you can do this from the app as well. It may list some contraindications there, and you can say you may have to put a reason. You can allow it or type in a reason then. Um, so my test patient, by the way, he's a very sick patient. He's got a lot of problems, more than any patient I've ever seen before. So um, we'll go ahead and allow these things, and perhaps I should make a new test patient for some of these demonstrations would be a good idea. Your patient hopefully doesn't have as many of these problems. Okay, so that's saving it. And now we're going to get to a screen where we can look at the patient's pharmacy. And surprisingly, as many times as my patient has been here, he does not have his default patient listed. That's a frustrating thing. If your techs prescribe medications, be sure they're entering default pharmacies for our medical patients, especially anybody who gets a medication from our clinic. You might as well have that checkbox clicked for their default pharmacy when you send things. But if you have a patient with no default pharmacy listed, you can search for the pharmacy. And this is just a regular old search, and I like to get my stuff at the Hy-Vee on Mount Vernon, so no conflict of interest here. Not Hy-Vee, Hy-Vee. And then you could put the city, and that will usually be enough to find what you need. And then you can do a search for that, and then all the Hy-Vees in Cedar Rapids show up, and you can come down here to the Hy-Vee. So I'm not going to send this over, but as soon as I would click that ERX button, that's going to send it over to the Hy-Vee on whichever one that I choose, and I won't confuse the pharmacy tonight by sending them a test patient. But anyway, that's how you would send something over, and then it will show up here after you've sent it. It will show up here in your medication list then, where you can check to make sure everything was sent the way you expected it to, and that's how you would send a drop on call. So there are other things you can do with this app, of course, but this is probably one of the most useful on-call applications. I sometimes will even get my app out if I'm near it at home when I get a call from a patient. This is a great way to check and see if a patient, number one, is if they're into practice. It's a great way to confirm if they're asking for a drop that wasn't called in. It's a great way to check their medicines very quickly to see if you're on the right page, or if the patient's on the right page. And sometimes I will just try to prescribe this while they're on the phone with me. That way I know I haven't forgotten their pharmacy or forgotten some detail about the SIG. So it's kind of nice just to be able to do this while they're on the phone with you. And then the patient knows, too, that you're taking the time to help them out even after hours at night. So that's just some information on how to use NextGen Mobile for on-call medications. And hope you found it useful. Thanks.